Another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages. Junk mail, overdue bills.
All right, folks, here we are. Sorry about that, a little rough on the connection. Joe Mangiacotti here for the final show of 2024, December 31st. This is it. We're wrapping up the year. This will be the last show of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN, I think. For those on the streaming, we're okay, but let me see something because I think the feed to the station has dropped, so let me reconnect that. We're going to have to fix this up in the new year, right? So let's give me a second on this. Sorry about this, folks, and we'll bring in the station and the feed to WCRN AM 830 with our studios in Westboro. So let's see if we've reconnected there. And I don't think so. I'm not hearing the station, so we'll try that one again. Meanwhile, you can tune into the station. I know, right? There at AM 830 WCRN. If you're streaming here, it could be Facebook, it could be X, Twitch TV, Rumble, all of those. So let's reconnect here, and we'll try that one. And I think we're back onto the station, and we have a rough connection there, Ted. Eh? Do you hear me? Okay, though, coming through.
Oh, yeah.
You do? Okay. So we'll start it again. Again, welcome to the final show of 2024, December 31st, folks. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. And you can join us at the following number, 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation today back at HQ Flying the Board. He'll get you set up, and he'll get you on the air. You can also text us at 617-297-83, and it dropped. I don't know what we're going on. We're going to have a conversation, folks, with the internet connection company here, because this is unacceptable. And let me reconnect one more time here. We'll try that. And let's see if we kick in. And there we go. It looks like we're connected, Mr. Ted. No, it dropped. We might have to go to plan B on that, Ted. I'm not sure. We'll have to check on that one way or the other. But we'll see if we can fix this up. And I'm just going to do a little something here, folks. And my apologies for this. What a way to go out on the final show. That's not a great way to do it. But you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Ted, are we connected? Are we good? Oh, well, we'll see if we can do that. But again, you can, once we get all straightened up, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000.
Joe?
Yeah, Ted.
Joe?
Ted, can you hear me?
You.
Ted, we may have to do alternative here. So.
All right, so just pick up the phone.
Yeah,
and
we're on, Ted. Ted, I'm on. We're streaming and we're good. So just put on the air. We're good to go. All right. 508-871-7. My apologies, folks. Text line 617-297-8388. We'll try, to continue to connect. That's my apologies, man. I don't know what happened. The internet connection seems to have dropped. But
you're back on the internet.
Yeah, we're back on the internet one, so we're going to drop the other line. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's see if we can get through this because it's opening in the last show. And it's let's look at 2024. We had this 2024 presidential election delivered really an unprecedented moment in American politics. Donald Trump, he defied expectations for some, but a lot of us didn't defy any expectations. Did we not expect him to win? We who have been, in fact, talking about the president, and I say the president because he's still the president for another few days, the president's decline, physically and mentally. So now when you have these mainstream media pundits acting so surprised or trying to say nobody knew there was anything wrong until the June debate, I'm sorry, that speaks more to your journalistic abilities or just common sense observational skills as a human being than it does anything else, quite frankly. So he didn't defy a lot of expectations on the right. He just met the expectations for a lot of us on the right. So he secured both the Electoral College and the popular vote in a very historic victory, only the second person in American history to have two non-consecutive terms. And this triumph sent shockwaves through the political establishment, reaffirmed the enduring influence of his movement and the MAGA movement. Now, meanwhile, the Biden presidency unraveled further daily. Revelations of the cognitive decline. And of course, and let's not forget, the coordinated media cover-up. And it was a cover-up. And this has got to be, I ask you, what would be a bigger scandal? What would be a bigger cover-up? What would be a bigger slight on American values, the American system, and yes, I'm going to say it, democracy, than what the Biden administration, the Obama people did, the media did in conjunction with, to cover up that we were rudderless. We did not actually have a commander-in-chief, a chief executive officer, who was all there, who was in complete command of his faculties. Is there a bigger cover-up ever in our American history? These developments underscored the critical need for transparency and accountability in leadership. And this is the part that really kind of kills me. They go after Trump all the time. I challenge you, have you in your lifetime been subjected to a more transparent presidency than the Trump administration? Everybody was looking at them. And now we're finding out from people who worked in DOJ and the FBI that they were working every day, all day, to come at Trump. He is the most investigated, and he's been put under the microscope more than any president, I would say, in the history of presidents. But what did they find? Think about that. And the media, nor the DOJ, or officially the DOJ, FBI, scrutinized Biden and the Biden family corruption with any degree close to what they did to Trump. None whatsoever. And if they did, what would we have found? What have we found? Comey, who the congressional rep, who has a background in banking. Everybody go, well, if Comer found this, right? Well, the thing there, folks, is he found it. But a member of Congress doesn't have prosecutorial ability. He has to turn, or she has to turn it over to the DOJ and the FBI. And they do that. And they weren't doing it. It's the Biden's DOJ who wasn't doing it. So it's there. It's there. All waiting. And maybe our new attorney general will be able to take it. And it's not payback. It's not revenge. It's just simply is what it is. Laws have been broken. And they should be looked at, prosecuted, and let the justice system do its thing. And not stacking the deck. Donald Trump or the Republicans or MAGA, they don't have to make up laws and bootstrap them together and ignore statute. Well, in the case of statute of limitations, that was a calculation made by certain people in the DOJ to let some hunters run out. And now on the domestic front, crime is surged to alarming levels. gang violence taking control of major cities. Oh, but don't worry. One of the reporters told us it's just a handful. J.D. Vance. Martha, do you hear yourself talking? Communities across the nation grappled with rising lawlessness, highlighting the urgent demand for reform and renewed focus on public safety. This reality contrasted sharply with the calls for defunding law enforcement, defund the police. It's got to be the worst cry that's ever been thought up, right? The mantra, the worst idea. Defund the police, as many Americans sought solutions to restore order, and their businesses were looted and robbed daily basis. Globally, the Ukraine war is raged on, drawing deepening divisions among world powers. The conflict reshaped alliances, it's straining resources. While the war between Hamas and Israel brought the Middle East back into focus, and Iran's role as a proxy power, that just added layers of complexity to an already volatile region. And as tensions flared, the global community faced the challenge of balancing diplomacy with decisive action. Amidst this chaos, the year ended with significant cabinet nominations, right? The signal a shift in governance. New faces, new philosophies, promises to shape policy for years to come, providing a glimmer of hope in an otherwise tumultuous year. And a lot of these cabinet members are in their 40s, not all, most of them. And Trump has said it over and over again, when he's gotten the chance to appoint multiple justices, and he might get a chance to appoint another one or two in the second term, he always goes for that 40-something-year-old, that brilliant legal mind in their 40s, because he knows they'll have 30 or 40 years on the bench. So this has been a year of trials and triumphs, questions raised and answers sought. As we prepare to welcome 2025, let us resolve to seek truth, champion liberty, and rebuild trust in the institution that serve us. So stay tuned as we dive deeper into these topics. We're going to take your calls at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And of course, our text line is running 617-297-8388. So this will be the last segment, one of the last show of the year on this Tuesday afternoon. Happy New Year to everybody. What are your resolutions and what would you like to say about 2024? 508-871-7000. We'll be back in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face the future on Social Security? Talk to Fewer Than Your Own. LedCareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing. Care is health insurance. He might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Tuesday afternoon edition, the very last show of 2024 here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. And you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is running at 617-297-8388. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time. We try to work it into the conversation. All right. Any resolutions? You know, the biggest resolution, right? Always, every year. I know we talk about this. It's always the gym membership, right? Gyms do very well this week. Tons of people sign up. They go for a couple of weeks and then they don't. And then they got to try to figure out how do they cancel that. And whoever writes contracts for gym membership and cellular service, they should be doing our government contracts with foreign nations. Can't get out of them. So we've got resolutions. Biggest one is weight loss, get in shape, that kind of thing. I just argue you don't have to wait till January 1st to make a kind of change like that. You can start eating healthier and doing things for your health at any time. And I think as you get older, you do things, a balance of nature. I've been on that for a couple of years, right? That vegetable and fruit capsule thing. But if you go look into that, they do all the process in the dark so the sunlight doesn't. Anyway, they're good. They're worth it. But some of the things out there, you got to look at them. Some of these beet things that they have out there are really sugar cubes. So do the research. You can Google stuff, read about it, find out what the FDA says, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, the resolutions. Do you have any? 508-871-7000. What about your predictions for 2025? What do we see coming? So this Wall Street Journal article that has really kind of triggered a lot of the debate and conversation about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. There are key talking points in the article, and they tried to kind of lay it out when we noticed things were going on. And again, it's amazing how people, not just on the right, but moderate, common sense, everyday people could see it. And this is why mainstream media has lost so much credibility. They've lost any standing. Their approval ratings less than Congress, which is saying something, because they literally were telling you the opposite of what you were experiencing, what you were feeling, what you were seeing, what you were hearing. They talk about the convention speech issues, that at Biden's final address at the DNC, how that was delayed, shortened the speech, omitting a career highlights video, some things that you probably didn't even know they cut out of that. And the legacy, how is Biden going to be remembered? As just the guy between the two Trump terms? His presidency saw significant accomplishments that they argue. And I never understood this when they said, well, he passed this piece of legislation. Like they still tote the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, Biden did at one point admit that it was really a Green New Deal repackaged. But when they say, oh, the president passed this, and I always think to myself, did they though? Because the president only has the ability to sign something. They don't actually pass it. Congress passes it. They just sign it into law. So if a bill gets passed into law, sure, it's the president who signs it, but Congress delivers it to the president. So is that an accomplishment that it got through? Isn't it really the leaders in Congress and both chambers that got it through? So I never understood why the president gets that credit. Think about that. And then just because you said it's a good thing doesn't mean it is a good thing. Was the Inflation Reduction Act actually a good piece of legislation? It was a horrible piece of legislation. It helped trigger historic inflation. It printed money. It was not a good piece of legislation. And then, of course, the decision to step aside. That came late, and it didn't come of his own choosing. Biden chose not to seek re-election, fearing Trump's return, but prioritizing party unity. That's the line. There was nothing so noble in that. I know the spin on that was Biden, wow, what a guy, sacrificing his own political career for the good of the party and the good of the country. It's a joke. And if you believe that, you're just not paying attention. Biden wanted to, and now he's expressing regret. He was asked a week or so ago, do you have any regrets in an interview? And he couldn't think of any. No. None of them jumped up. Afghanistan, inflation, no, nothing. Now the one regret he's thinking about is dropping out of the race. They're blowing so much smoke up him that he thinks that he had a chance to actually win against against Trump. Biden had no chance. So he's thinking, upon reflection, that he's confident he could have won this past election. And of course, now they're blaming delays in Biden's withdrawal may have impacted Harris's campaign and the Democratic Party outcome. This party, this campaign Harris's I'm talking about, with the direct donations and then the PACs and the DNC, we're looking at a $2 billion campaign in 107 days or something. It's got to be record. I maintain if she had a longer, if she was the nominee, first of all, if they did it the right way and they had a primary, I don't think she would have survived the primary. Someone else would have been put forward, but say it was her. If you gave her 200 days, I think she would have done worse. I think the more she got out there, the worse she did. They were really trying to do the Biden campaign strategy. Control her, control all exposure to her. Now we're hearing everything from her going on Brett Baier and her staff going nuts, coming in late purposely, cutting it short. The fact that she wouldn't go on. Now, if she went on Joe Rogan, I don't think that would have turned it around. I think it would have done worse. Do you really think that Kamala Harris could have done 3 hours with no teleprompter, no notes, and wherever the conversation flows, go along with it without giggling, laughing, and word salads the whole time? By her admission, she couldn't have done the 3 hours that Trump did. Not a lot of us could, actually. Think about that. Could you keep an interesting flowing conversation for 3 hours with Joe Rogan or any other experienced talk host like that? So they're saying that Biden's delay in his withdrawal may have impacted Harris's campaign. Sure, to a degree, but it was a bad candidate. They just don't want to accept the fact that when they put Hillary up, she was a bad candidate. In their world, she was perfect. Right? They really thought she was it. She had it all set. They really, really did think there was no chance of Donald Trump winning in 2016. I mean, in their gut, in their heart, they didn't believe it. That's why the fallout was so crazy. And now you got this reflective tone, right? Biden's appearances, they become a little more personal. And he's starting to share stories and life lessons. Not a lot of achievements, or what are real achievements. I still go back to the oil cancer thing. But I think there are people kind of wincing right now because he's out there and there's nothing. What's to keep him in check? There's no more political future. And he doesn't have complete command of his faculties. Is it only a matter of time before he starts to reminisce and he kind of lets the cat out of the bag on some things that aren't supposed to be said out loud? I think that's already happened in a couple examples. Like, for example, sharing openly that he regrets appointing Merrick Garland as Attorney General because he didn't act fast enough prosecuting Trump to get him out of the way. I don't think that was supposed to be said out loud for public consumption. Think about that, how significant that is. I'm disappointed and I regret appointing the attorney general who didn't go after my political opponent fast enough or hard enough. Wow. And then there was that social media event, right? The speech to influencers. And that didn't get a lot of coverage. So I don't know if you remember it or know what I'm talking about, but he was supposed to, he met, with all those influencers on the Zoom call or whatever. And the speech of influencers veered off topic. A lot of mixed reactions. And it divided the audiences on this. So that didn't work out the way expected. Then the unexpected Oval Office visit showcased his storytelling. And we got, right, the cannibals eating the uncle and all these just weird stuff when he starts telling these stories. And there's only so much and so long can we say, well, that's just Joe. That's just Joe. Then the foreign trips, especially the last few, really highlighted his limitations. And it signified and put us at the end of an era of U.S. global leadership. And that's why we see the world reacting to the Trump election in the way it is. They know things are going to change, and they're going to change quickly, and they're going to change in direction massively in a few days. Whether he was in the rainforest or walking off into the jungle or doing whatever he was doing in Africa. And look at this, the way he was at the G7. You know what I'm talking about. You watched it. He's back in the back row, way off in the corner, versus Trump, who physically moves leaders of other countries out of his way. So he takes front and center at a G7 conference. And of course, Hunter's pardon. That sparked controversy. And that's going to impact his legacy because that's how he's going to be remembered. The guy between Trump and who pardoned his son after years of saying no way. He respects the system. He respects the law too much. It will do its thing. The system will do its thing. I'm not going to pardon my son. And then he pardons him. So he has legacy concerns. And now he has challenges with his presidential library. That project, I know I said tongue in cheek, he's not going to get a library, he's going to get a bookmobile. Donors aren't going to pony up that money, folks. But we're going to take our mid-show break here on the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Hey, we'll be back for the second half. Stick with us. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We're going to go with mostly sunny skies for the day today with highs in the lower 50s. Tonight, expect 40s if you're going to be ringing in the new year outside. We've also got rain chances really ramp up around midnight tonight, so keep that in mind. Lots of rain between midnight and sunrise tomorrow morning. We're going to keep some scattered showers around for your Wednesday morning plans. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, the final show of the year. Next time I'm back, it's going to be next year. It'll be actually Thursday, 1 o'clock, but I will be sitting in for Jerry Doherty on Thursday at 10 a.m. for Political Thursday. So that'll be my first show of 2025. Wow, 2025. Crazy. Are we supposed to be living on Mars by now and having anti-gravity cars and all that kind of stuff? Sorry to the Jetsons. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. Text us on the text line at 617-297-8388. That's how you join the conversation and get a little participation. Do you have any regrets? Do you have any end of the year resolutions, predictions for 2025? I'm going to shift the conversation a little more focused into the incoming Trump administration's, their focus on immigration enforcement. And that's leading to a clash with sanctuary cities. Now, the bottom line is, and I've said this over and over again, sanctuary cities, by definition, don't exist. They're not legal. They're just self-declared things with no teeth to it. There's no mechanism to say we're going to step out of federal law, by the way. Our particular city is exempt from these laws that we don't like. It doesn't work like that. But they want to protect illegal migrants from deportation. I understand the origin of that. And it's actually going back to the days when New York was so bad it prompted a movie, right? Escape from New York. And Giuliani came in on the scene. And he would not have gotten elected as mayor of New York if it wasn't such a hole that it was. And he brought back, right, with the broken windows theory, enforced the little crimes so the bigger crimes don't happen. And at that point, the concept of the sanctuary city was, we've got so many illegals who back then actually tried to stay out of the light. They did everything they could not to draw attention to themselves. They got their jobs, I'll bet, usually under the table and all that, because they didn't have, either they were renting an ID from maybe a Puerto Rican citizen or just a false one, whatever the case is. But they followed the law because they didn't want to be arrested, and they certainly didn't want to be a witness to a crime, and that was the problem. The problem was you had a city that had a lot of illegals who were staying out of the limelight, following the law, not breaking the law, but were sometimes witness to the breaking of the law. And so Giuliani in the commission, I think it was Bratton, right, who said, well, we've got to have some way of communicating. We're not ICE. We're only interested in these crimes that are happening to the citizens of New York, and you can help us by providing us with a witness statement, the information we need for an investigation. That's where that came from. So if you're illegal, we don't care. We're going to be sanctuary city in that we won't turn you over. Now, even then, they said, we're not going to go actively turn you over to ICE. But back in the Giuliani's day, if there was a detainer, they would honor it. Now you got mayors and governors who are ordering their law enforcement people not to cooperate. And now those people are in this conflict of, if they don't, they're breaking federal law. And if they do cooperate, they're going to be in trouble by the state or the city. You see the possible position you're putting them into. But Tom Homan and the Trump administration, they're warning these cities who are obstructing federal law enforcement that they could face legal consequences. I think it's starting to sink into some of these people who, at the time, jumped on the bandwagon and placating to their left base. We're a sanctuary city and we're going to protect them. And they're saying this to people who are bad for their citizens, for their actual constituents, who are legal citizens, who are actually legally here and part of the system and registered to vote. Those are your constituents. Why wouldn't you want to remove the criminal element that are hurting? Not just the old ladies, but anybody's a victim. Anybody's a victim. So now they can face these legal consequences, including prosecution for harboring or obstructing ICE agents. That is absolutely against federal law. And many Democratic-led cities have reinforced sanctuary laws. California considering expanded support for illegal immigrants. And this opposition to Trump's border policies could prompt significant resistance, including legal battles and possible physical confrontations. However, Homan is confident in his team's preparedness to enforce policies and to win in court. So this is, I think, going to be one of the biggest issues and stories of the new year, because we're going into some uncharted territory, aren't we? And that is holding elected officials accountable to the law. That's all. Some of these places have ushered in new sanctuary laws or doubled down on policies already on their books. And the deportation efforts, they've already started. I know Trump's not in the office, nor is Homan. But the, I guess, attack policy or the plan is being formulated as we speak. The meetings are being held. The conversations are being held. You've got a sense of morale in Border Patrol, in ICE. I've seen Homan on several interviews talk about how many people have reached out who have either put in for retirement and would like to stop it and reverse it, or they're retired and would like to come back, or they never were part of ICE or Border Patrol, but they've retired from another force or law enforcement agency, and they'd like to come work under this president, under this director. And Homan maintains that, see, these jurisdictions, they have a right to stand aside and not help, but they don't have any ground whatsoever to obstruct or blatantly block the agency from its mission. And the possibility of charges are on the table with that. We can talk more about that in a second. Homan says there are federal statutes on the books for knowingly concealing and harboring an illegal alien away from ICE officers. And it is illegal alien. That's actually the term in the statute. That's the actual, I know that the left wants to, very Orwellian with Orwellian speech, right? Change the words, control the words, and then call us names if we use the legal technical word or term. But it's called illegal alien. There are statutes on the books about impeding federal law enforcement officers. They're all felonies. And now you have an administration and a director who will refer those over to the DOJ, the AG's office, who are all on the same page. And I think they will, initially, they will look for the opportunity to make an example. And when they charge a mayor or a council person or even a sheriff or a chief or somebody with a felony for obstructing, evading, and assisting an illegal alien, and they're in front of a judge and they're in a courtroom, the others will go, I guess the game has changed. There's a clip out there. I wish I knew the conversation was going to go here. I would have tried to. It's more of a visual, but the audio of it. It's two women who are in Orange County. Now, Orange County in California, as many of you understand, Southern California, and it's one of the few conservative or Republican areas in California. There are a couple Republican congressional delegation there, but they ventured off into Orange County. And Orange County had just changed some of the local laws because remember, we saw the state go up to the $800, $900. It's not a felony. You can steal up to that, which they didn't think through because to a lot of the people who were the citizens who were apt to go out and steal, when you tell them you're not going to get a felony until $900 or whatever the number is, that's almost like saying, go ahead and steal. This is a license for you to go steal up to that amount. They take it in a wholly different way. And these two young women who decided to venture into Orange County and steal, shoplift, got arrested. They got arrested and they were going to jail. And there's audio from them in the squad car. They were put into the car and the camera's rolling. And they're talking to each other and saying, what's going on? And they're like, well, it's steal. It's a felony now. It's a felony now to steal. I think they stole $700-800 or something like that. And they said, well, Orange County doesn't mess around. That's not the words that they use, but you get the gist of it. And they were surprised. But you see, if you make it okay, if there are no consequences, and how you make it okay is there's no consequences. If you tell them you can steal up to $900 and it's not a felony, you get a ticket. Then they're going to say, okay, they'll adjust to that. But for the majority, not all, they're hardcore criminals. And trust me, a lot of these smash and grabs and shoplifting, they're very organized. They're not just random people doing this. They're going out with quotas, admissions, and stores to hit, and all that's coming back to somebody. And then that's being turned around and being resold at a discount, being sold on eBay or whatever. And it's a very organized thing. But for the average person who thinks they can get away with stealing a little something, if they know that there are consequences and they're doing 30 days or 18 months or something in county jail, that's enough for the deterrence for them right there. Folks, we're coming up to our third and final break of not only the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, but the last show of 2024. So we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back for the fourth and final segment on the other side. Stick with us. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000, folks. We'll be back in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Those things we most cherish are all put at risk through the improper disposal of mercury in everyday items. Fluorescent lamps, thermometers, thermostats all contain mercury. Mercury Recovery Program is designed to assist your community in the safe disposal of this heavy metal. For more information about where to dispose of these products, contact your local Board of Health, Department of Public Works, or visit our website at keepmercuryfromrising.org. Working together, we can keep our environment safe.
Attention all contractors. The Massachusetts Mercury Management Act makes it illegal to improperly dispose of old thermostats in the trash. They contain mercury that can be harmful to human health and the environment. Building and HVAC contractors, plumbers, and electricians, please properly dispose of all mercury thermostats. Contact your local health or public works department for information on where to safely dispose of thermostats in your community. Visit online, keepmercuryfromrising.org for details. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That's how you get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Don't forget our text line is up at 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. One of the biggest stories, I think, that has evolved in the latter part of 2024 is the trendy Iragra gangbangers, right? And it got some attention with the interview with J.D. Vance. It got some attention at the debate with Kamala and Trump, and the media tried to downplay it. And the report is escaping me, the one J.D. Vance Raskin or something, who literally said, oh, it's only a handful. And that's when J.D. Vance came back with that classic line, do you hear yourself, Martha? But they are repeatedly attacking border crossings now in desperate move to force their way into the border or through the border before Trump takes office. And so now the Border Patrol and ICE has learned through informants that this is actually coordinated now, folks, that about 3 o'clock in the morning, these are planned rushing onto the border. They realize they have a window of days now as we get closer and closer to the 20th. And when Trump takes office, and what's going to happen with that, because Trump has put it out there. First of all, he's going to use the military, and there's precedence for it. You can't use the military. It's been done before. Of course you can. Putting the military on our border, on our southern border, that's not within the purview of the military. What are you kidding me? Of course it is. It's pretty much what they exist for. So you've got these knife-wielding, trendy Iraga gang members. They're mobbing border crossings at El Paso. And that is just an attempt to break into the U.S. And they have done it, and they said they will do it, and that's attack border guards who try to stop them. There was that video kind of went viral when they rushed the Border Patrol in the fence before, and they were getting the gate closed. Some of the Border Patrol officers there were hurt on that. But just in this last week, 20 of the Venezuelan gangbangers, and they're armed with blades, tire irons, broken liquor bottles. They have tried to force their way into the U.S. at these border gates. And the Department of Public Safety in Texas, they're not going to have it. And they're expecting another one tonight or tomorrow morning, I guess 3 in the morning, according to this informant who gave Border Patrol a heads up. It's happening. So a quote from the story on this is, you're seeing that violence at the border because they know it's going to change in 27 days. It's going to change. It's going to be different, and they're going to be sought after. So Texas authorities, they've been alerted to this by an anonymous informant, and that they're going to continue every night about 3 in the morning. And the tipster said that the gang intends to actually cause harm. This isn't, we're going to sneak in before it really cracks down, before we have soldiers with automatic rifles at the border. We're going to just slip in quietly and not get caught. No. According to the tipster here, they intend to cause harm to the Texas National Guard soldiers who are already stationed there, especially when they are left alone with no agents to help them. So I think we have to take a moment and realize just how dangerous it is for the National Guardsmen, the Border Patrol agents, the ICE agents, the local deputies, any law enforcement right now. It's like being a DEA agent back in the 80s. There's a target on their back, and they're putting their own personal safety at massive risk for your safety, for the safety of the country, for the sovereign border. Now, this source said that gunfire has picked up big time along El Paso border in recent days, adding that authorities have also had to fire more pepper balls into the group trying to breach the border. You know, how long before they use actual live rounds instead of pepper balls? So Department of Public Safety didn't immediately respond to the New York Post's request for comment on it. But this renewed violence is centered just a few miles down the border wall from where a lot of the violence in the El Paso border riot was back on the 21st when they rushed it back then. I'm sure you've seen that video. And in that assault, more than 200 illegal immigrants broke through the razor wire, dashed to the wall. Some of them brutally assaulted Texas National Guard soldiers in that melee. And at least one of the rioters in that clip was seen stomping on a service member's knee as the group tried to break through. So they're planning to do this every night until Trump changes the playing field. And they intend to do harm. And El Paso is headquarters for the Tren de Aragua. And a lot of their members are passing through the border town before heading out to the other areas in the country. And that includes New York and Aurora, Colorado. And I think it's, depending on which news source you're looking at, it's 17 or 19 cities that they're established in. Think about that. Venezuelan gangs, violent gangs with violent history and very violent tactics, have footholds in 12 American cities on American soil. And we got mayors and governors that are okay with that. And this gang is teamed up with cartels on the Mexican side of the border. Why? For smuggling operations. And now, unfortunately, smuggling isn't just drugs, and unfortunately just isn't fentanyl, but it's human smuggling, human trafficking, slavery, sex trade. Multi-billion-dollar business now under the Biden administration. And the other part of this that we haven't talked about a lot and isn't being talked about a lot is that these gangs and the increased violence, it's also very much linked to anti-American ideology. And that would be comparable to terrorist groups. So they're not just here because there's money here and there's good money to be made trafficking drugs and humans and sex trafficking, but they are actually anti-American. They hate our way of life. They hate who we are, just like terrorists do. So they want to inflict damage, terrorism, on American soil. And some of these agents are saying that they think that the TDA is coming in with instruction from their home country and that their ideology is more of a terrorist ideology of destruction, opposed to just the money making. The money making through drugs and trafficking, smuggling people, coyotes, all that, it gives them their budget. That's how they're able to do this. But they hate the United States just like terrorists do. They will kill, destroy, and take over businesses, take over stores, take over apartment complexes. We've seen this happening. They'll do whatever they have to do to destroy our way of life in the U.S. This adds another layer of this. It's another element to the situation. Because now you start to get into missions that they have. And when you start dealing with ideology opposed to pure business, it's a very different situation, folks. Now, just in September, Governor Greg Abbott, he declared TDA a foreign terrorist organization and revealed that more than 100 of the rioters witnessed by the Post in March were believed to be members of the Venezuelan gang. And Donald Trump has alluded to the fact, because he did it in the first term, just like he uses a lot of other things like tariffs and stuff as leverage. And he put out the possibility of determining and assigning terrorist status to some of these cartels. And if the president deems them a clear and present danger to the United States and assigns them terrorist status, it does change the rules of engagement. It does change how we affect the border. So this is going to be a big part of 2025 as a more drilled down part of the entire immigration policy, the entire border issue that is, if not the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons that Trump was elected to this second term. Obviously, we know it had to do with the economy, inflation, but man, the border and the crime is huge. Look at the polls on what was important to people. So this is going to be a big part of the first 100 days, because we're going to see tactics and rules that have never been used before used, because this president isn't afraid of doing that. And he will do that. So that is coming, folks. That is coming. But this is going to actually wrap up the very last show of 2024 for the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN. I want to thank you for joining me the days you do every Monday through Thursday at 1 o'clock for 1 hour. I'll be back on